Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am Julie Shore, President of Career Development Advisors, and we are here for another Next Step Wednesday. So, welcome. If you are joining us for the first time, my firm works with organizations on retained recruiting efforts. We do team development utilizing the Colby Index, and we do outplacement and career transition. And we also work with individuals on career coaching. And this month, for those of you that have been tuning in every Wednesday, I have been inviting very special guests to join me so you can hear their story and hopefully get inspired about their career journey. And today I have my very special friend and colleague, Lori Reese. Welcome, Lori.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so happy Lori has given up her time. I know she's super busy to be with us today, and I'm hoping at the end again I'll share some 5 steps that you can take, which is what we're about, taking action, right? But Lori is going to talk to us a little bit about her career journey, and we are here to take your questions, your comments. Tell us how you're feeling today. If you had a burning career or talent question, feel free to chat that in. Chrissy will help us with that. But again, I'd like to welcome Lori, and Lori is the owner of Consider It Done in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to let her tell us a little bit about her background, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Julie. So as Julie said, I'm the owner and founder of Consider It Done. We are a life management and organizing firm based in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but we do have clients in other parts of the country and actually parts of the world. But I will be celebrating our 6-year anniversary in January.
Oh, yay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
So
6 years?
yeah, it's time flies. And this is not my first career. As I met Julie, we know each other from our HR professional experience. But I was a former HR professional and segued into a career change. Went out on my own after years in the corporate world, and here I am. So it's going great.
So, what parts of HR did you work in, or can you share with
Sure.
folks the types of responsibilities you had in your prior corporate life?
So when I first entered the HR profession, I was what you would call a generalist. So very broad range, doing payroll, doing benefits, operation hiring, recruiting support, just pretty much the whole gamut, safety, those things. And then mid-career, I specialized more in benefits. So, managing employee benefits, disability, family medical leave. I'd go workers' comp. I was in charge of the safety programs for a Wendy's franchise. And so it was very specialized, probably the last 9.5 years of my career.
Sorry, you're going to hear a phone ringing in my background here. So, question, what was sort of a turning point for you or pivotal point in your career where you decided to, I assume at some point, leave the corporate world?
Right. I would say, I mean, for a long time, I loved being in the corporate world. But probably towards the end, what made the changes, I was feeling a bit burned out. I was feeling like I wasn't my best self. Um, I was feeling more cynical, more impatient. Um, I was just not happy, and I had been researching changing just employers, but everywhere I looked, it was the same kind of thing I'd be facing. And I'd always had an idea of working for myself. I always knew about organizing, personal assistance, and that was always a little bug in the back of my mind. But I would say, I started researching concepts of businesses, and that kind of fell into that realm, and did a long, couple of years of just sitting and thinking and researching. And I was afraid to make the move. It's a big leap to do that. And I think what the big catalyst for change, unfortunately, was losing a special relative. My niece had passed away from a 2-year battle with cancer. And she was an amazing person and really inspired me through her battle. But it was at that time I thought life is just too short. I don't want to have regrets. I don't want to be doing something that is not fulfilling. I just knew there was something else out there for me. And through that is what made me really make the change.
And was it a sudden change? Like, did you just quit your job and say, I'm going
No.
for it? Or was it a gradual one? Like, how did you make
Yeah.
that
Well,
transition?
yeah, it was a little gradual. Let me think. She passed away in 2012, and I was doing my homework and plugging along in my job. But by 2000, the end of 2013, I think I had filed for my corporation and left my full-time job January of 2014.
Okay.
Oh, wait. So, yeah. Did I just have 6 years? I had
Yeah,
6 years this
yeah.
year.
I know. It's hard. It's like you feel like you've been
I'm
doing
up
it
on
forever.
7 years.
Feel like you've been
That's
doing it forever, right?
Yeah, it's so, like I said, time flies. It wasn't until I'm just telling the story. I'm like, wait a minute, it'll be 7 years. So anyway, it was not an immediate drastic thing. I'm a very cautious person. Um,
Hmm.
and I did a lot of homework and then wanted to have all my ducks in a row, speaking to people that I trusted in the business world, advisors such as attorneys I knew, my accountant that does our personal, stuff, and people I respected and respect to, run the concept by them. And I will tell you too, what was interesting is that when I celebrated this launch, like making the leap, there are people that I love dearly who I knew got it. They understood. They were excited for me. They understood what I was setting out to do. And there were other people who were supportive, but I knew they didn't get it. They weren't
Hmm.
sure. They weren't sure where I was going to go with this. And I would just say that that's going to happen in life. And it's so exciting, that here I am approaching 7 years. And I have people get what I do now. They totally do.
Yeah.
So,
And anytime you follow a different path, or, last couple of weeks ago, I shared my background, and we've had different stories of folks that have been on, but you're right. I think the people you think will support you, and I tell job seekers this all the time, is the people you think are going to support you don't. And then the ones that there are going to be people who come out of the woodwork that are like your greatest fans, right?
yes,
And if
yes.
it's something different than a traditional path, I know I've had that as well,
Yeah.
where for years it was like, just stay in the corporate world. And I was like, something was just in the back of my
Yeah.
mind. Like it just instinctively was like, nope, I could. So to your point, I commend you in that, it sounds like you concur that it's definitely a process and a journey initially, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
could you have gone somewhere else? Sure, but would it have been different? Um,
Right. I think it would
and
have been a different color room, a different
right.
desk, but the same type of work. And don't what I don't want to discount is the experience that I had, all of the experiences that I have had in my life, my job that I had leading up to this transition, my jobs before that, I can look back and clearly see where each step led me here, because all of that experience I am
Hmm.
putting to work now for to help people. So I would say, even though I was itching for a change and I wasn't feeling fulfilled, I really love the experience that the corporate world, it has helped me tremendously in running my business and working with people. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. It was a great education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even though we each have maybe jobs we didn't love, I think there's key takeaways. And
Mhm.
to what you just said, I'm a firm believer in that we learn or pick up something new with everyone we speak to, everything we experience, good, bad, or indifferent. And so are there pieces, well, that sort of leads into one of my questions. Do you have any regrets in your career thus far? If you could have a mulligan or a do-over, is there something that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I would say I don't have any regrets. I think my confidence has grown since I started the business. And I think it's hard sometimes to value what you bring to the table. I hear that a lot, that we tend to, especially women, we tend to undervalue
True.
our assets and our talents. And and I think when I started out, I was very timid, a little timid in my pricing, not sure. And now it's like, and I guess it may come with experience, but I wish I would have maybe started out a little bolder, knowing what I know now. But and but I don't have any regrets of making the transition. I'm so happy. And people see it. People who know me see it and what I do, and because I just love helping people. So.
And I think in service-oriented professions, it is hard to quantify or put that value on. And it is a true service of time and energy and expertise that you provide to your clients. And so if I could just go back a second, Lori, so the pieces that you liked about your job, I think you're utilizing now in that space a little bit, right? Could you speak to some of the things you actually do for your clients?
Sure. Well, organizing for one thing, I can go into a space. So when I worked in an office, I liked having things orderly and organized. And I worked for executives early in my career who I had to keep their offices and their, business activities organized. So I'm used to organizing information and making systems that work for people. And so that was part of my corporate life that I have taken in to helping people organize their lives, organize paperwork, going into a room that might be cluttered of things. I can see a vision, but the thing is, I don't just do it for them. I help work, alongside them to do that. So I would say the organizing aspect definitely has applied, and paper management. I mean, working in HR and benefits, I help a lot of people pay bills, look at medical claims, make sure things are getting processed properly, and looking at utilities. I used to do accounts payable at one point, doing an office manager. So all of the accounts receivable, the bookkeeping stuff has all applied to what I'm doing for my clients. When I worked in Philly for a corporation, we had a lot of executives that moved around the country. So I helped manage relocations. Well, I help people downsize and move. I've packed offices to move, different offices across town and things like that. And so that aspect has also been helpful in what I do for my clients.
So that's fantastic. So you have the other side of the brain that I don't have. When I worked in HR, I was like benefits, like that level of detail. And so see, you got to take your passion and what you were good at and utilize that, which is
right. And that's why I say, like, everything, when I look back, even from when I was in my 20s all the way till now, I can see where all that experience has really helped kind of form the work I do, except for I get to do it for private individuals. It's not for another company. It's for individuals who have a real need for order in their lives. And I love being that person.
And I bet there's no shortage of those folks who need order in their lives. And just for people who are listening, so you work with people sort of all age ranges and sort of family situations, or tell us sort of a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I was actually drawn, I do have clients of various age, or I've worked with clients of various ages. However, I would say most of my clients are 55 and older. going through like their kids are out of the house. I don't really work with a lot of families. It's mostly empty nesters, people who they never had children, or they're just they're on their own. So elderly, maybe their children are out of the area. So I'm that person that steps in and helps with the family. So I may not just work for the parents, like an elderly couple or a widow or widower, but I'm also there kind of as a liaison between them and their children, helping them manage everything. So maybe they're usually going through life transitions. They've lost a spouse or a partner or loved one, or they're downsizing because they can no longer stay in the home where they are. It's not suitable for them, or they're, just trying to adjust to being an empty nester, dealing with everything. Now they look around, they're like, oh my gosh, we have so much stuff here. What do we do? So, so generally in older adults is my niche, so to speak.
So it sounds like you have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Obviously, the obvious, well organized. You have a very strong affinity to details, and anything else, a skill specifically that you can see that has transferred over. So probably your financial acumen. I know you talked about, kind of getting involved in the paperwork, because I think sometimes folks that are considering a career change struggle with that transferability of skills and experience. And hopefully anyone who's watching can see how Lori's done that, and which I think is terrific. How about, what do you consider to be, Lori, sort of your core fundamental values as a person and in your work? And looking back, do you think, because of the values you had, were any of those in conflict when you were, in your prior life?
I don't know that anything was in conflict, but I will tell you what I value tremendously is, what the work I do involves a very high level of trust. And so I, trust and loyalty. I'm very loyal to my clients. I stick up for them. I will fight for them, whatever, if they don't want to deal with the utility company, I'm going to deal with it for them, or whatever.
Right.
So I would say honesty, loyalty, community service, giving back to the community. I think I've been really fortunate that a lot of the employers that I worked for before were very supportive of my wanting to be involved in the community. If I wanted to serve on a board, they supported that. If I wanted to do fundraisers through work, they supported that. So that's always been very important to me. So I think, those are big things that have come through all of my work experience. Yeah.
And you also, I want to point out to folks that, community involvement was important to you, in the corporate world. And I don't know if you caught on to folks listening or watching, is, that's a great way to raise your hand in the job you're in for not only community involvement, but to get involved in other projects or committees at work. So if you're sort of not loving your job, that's a great way to sort of expand your network. Yes. Meet new people, experience different things, and begin to assess or continue to assess on this journey. Am I doing the right thing? Is this what I want to do to make your job more tolerable? Whether it's within your job or outside of your job. I know early in my career, again, before family and all that good stuff, I was not loving my first job, which I had shared. And so I volunteered as a coach. I was a track coach, and that was sort of my outlet and a way to balance it while I was figuring out the next thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you're feeling stuck or bored, but your company does some charitable work, or they don't, and you want to initiate it, I do think that that's a way to add value, just add to your current situation. And it could open doors, like you said, to meeting new people. And you might tap into some strengths and skill sets, or learn new skill sets that you didn't even know about. So I think that that's a really good option to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes it's more apparent in smaller organizations that those opportunities exist because you wear so many hats, right? But in
Right.
those larger organizations, sometimes people just get into their own little departments and silos and they don't think like, "Ooh, could I be on a,
Right.
cross-functional team for
Right.
an upcoming project or what have you?" So, yeah, I love that you
Yeah.
did that. How about, do you have a sort of motto or
Mhm.
personal mission statement or something along those lines, Lori, that has
Yeah.
sort of stuck with you over time?
I really thought about that question, Julie. I thought that's a hard one, but for me personally, I always just am telling myself I can do this. It's that voice in your head, in my head, that I have to be positive. And so, like in the morning, and I have a little note on my bulletin board. I can do this. I'm good at what I do. And I have my mission, and my mission is to bring calm and order to the lives of others. So when I, am frustrated or feeling like I'm not progressing on a project well, or maybe I'm not loving something, maybe it's just not a good day, I look at that note and when I think about my clients and my mission and what I'm out here to achieve, that helps me recenter myself. So I think that's, what you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning really impacts how your day is going to go.
Absolutely. Mindset is so important. And so even when you love what you do, you mean you have a bad moment or day, Lori? You're
Yeah.
human, right? We all
Right. We
are.
are all human, and we're not perfect. And, maybe I make a misstep, or, something with a client doesn't go exactly as planned. But there's always a solution. There's a solution to everything. And I just have to be patient, and, uh, and it all works out. That's the other thing. It always works out.
Isn't it funny how it does? It's like, give it time. Or I don't know about you, if I've been faced with a challenge towards, the middle of the day, early in the day, whatever, it's like, you know what, I need to think about it for a while. We're in such a
Right.
fast paced society and life where everything's like instantaneous, but
Right.
it's okay to take a step back and think about resolve to something.
I think it's really important to take the time to do that. It's well worth it to reflect, reading some, books that are relevant to help you with that process. And taking time, it is important to take time for yourself to just think. That's the thing. We're getting so inundated with information um, every second of the day, and you just got to turn it off and just take time to think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, do you have any words of wisdom for anyone
Mhm.
who's watching who is either stuck in a job they just can't stand or even contemplating a career change,
Right.
whether it's to another organization or to go out on their own? What are your thoughts to share?
So I think when I look back at different transitions in my career, I think the one common thing that I did, whether it was a transition in HR from what I was working, areas I was working on, and then transitioning to my company, is that I talked to people who had the knowledge that I wanted. Like they were people I looked up to, I admired. They were doing work that I liked, and there were people that just had an expertise that I wanted to know more about. And so, I reached out to those people and talked to them. Sometimes it just takes, you have to step out of your comfort zone. I remember when I was in an HR transition, in our the HR chapter, I started reaching out to heads of departments at different companies and doing informational interviews. That's not an interview. It's just like, I want to learn more about your company, what your department is like, what are the different specialties in HR. I just, to figure out where I was going to go at that time in my life in the HR world. So, and people really do want to help other people, and so I think you just need to step out of your comfort zone and say, yeah, why wouldn't they want to talk to me? So give them a call, send them an email. And when I was researching this company for this business, I remember doing research online, and I found a company down in Texas that was doing work that I was really drawn to. And I contacted the owner, And she's like, sure, I'll have a phone call with you. And so, yeah. And the one thing I did in every instance when I asked someone for a meeting or phone call, whatever, I always had questions prepared. So if you're going to do something like that, you definitely want to be prepared with questions that you want to ask them so that you get the most out of your time and their time. And, it could be just 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour. You can have a 15-minute Zoom call or whatever, and pound out these questions. And you'll tend to find out that it'll go longer than what you plan because people like talking about what they do.
Right, right. Well, I love that you did that, and look at you now. And the job seekers and people I coach, the networking is the one thing that everyone gets panicked about, unless they're in the sales or business development field. Those folks seem to be, because that's what they do, right?
Well, and Julie, I think you and I have talked about the whole networking thing. I mean, networking groups can be intimidating, and even though I'm a very social person,
yes,
they can be hard situations to navigate. And you only get a limited amount of time with people because there's so many people, at least they're used in a group,
right.
in a meeting room, and you're quick, and then you get to your program. So I think that doing one-on-one grassroots networking it's authentic. You get that person's undivided attention. And I think that that's just a nice alternative way to do things with networking.
And I think, so one of the key steps I'm going to reiterate for everyone in terms of taking action is to, start conducting some informational interviews and reach out. Because as Lori said, you're not asking for anything except advice and information. And most people, in my experience too, Lori, I would say there's a very small percentage who decline that. And when you're respectful of their time, I know you're busy, let's schedule for 15 minutes, or like you said, be prepared with those questions. I think they've been very helpful. I know for me too, over the course of my career. And so I would challenge you this week, anyone who watches, to try and set up at least one informational interview this week or do it for next week. And so, Lori, as we close, do you want to share your website, or if people have questions and would like to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is www.consideritdonepa.com. I'm also on Facebook, Consider It Done LLC, and so you can find me there as well.
Well, Lori, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I know it's been a tremendous help to me, to the folks listening, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And just a few other pointers I'd like to share, because again, I called this Next Step Wednesday because I know Wednesdays can kind of be like, especially if you don't like your job, right? It's like, oh, it's only Wednesday. So 5 things you all can do. 1, reach out to your network and schedule one of those informational interviews. Add a new connection on LinkedIn. Just do that brain dump and see who you can connect with. Thank someone this week. We don't always have to be reaching out on a mission or, for a purpose. We can just say hello, say thank you. How are you doing? I think is a great way to stay in front of your network, and try to get inspired. If Lori has inspired you, certainly reach out to her, check out her website. I know I have a daughter who is an aspiring organizer who's probably watching right now. And I said, yes, to Lori's point, it is a profession and something you can really make a living at, but people don't think about that, from the traditional roles. And so get inspired, follow her, like her Facebook page, follow her her website, her articles she posts on LinkedIn, and really try to do or schedule some time to think. As Lori shared, right? So often we are overscheduled, overbooked, and this whole career thing is a process. And if you don't take time to take in all the information, it can be hard. And so challenge yourself to do some of that introspection. Any final words, Lori?
I just had a thought, if it's okay, with the
Absolutely.
because I think that that's a great thing. And I think when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, because this happens to me, people reach out to me who I don't know. And it'll be like it's the generic message. And I think that when you do reach out, if you may not know them, or maybe you have people in common, send a specific message. Say why you want to connect with them, what it is that drew you to want to connect with them. So it's more make it personal.
Yes, I think anytime you can just be personal rather than that automated, do you want to connect or do you want to add a note? So say yes. That's right.
Yes,
add a note.
Definitely
add a note.
And I'm more likely to accept the ones that put a little more time into their message.
Agreed. Yeah. Wholeheartedly agreed. Thank you for bringing that up, Lori. So thank you again for being with us. It's been wonderful having you. And one final note, I am starting a series of power classes. So if you feel like you have been in this job search thing for a while or just contemplating how to even get started or change careers, you can visit my website, which is www.careerdevelopmentadvisors.net. And it's a four-class session. You can hop into one or participate in all four, and they begin October 19th, which is job search strategies and selling your personal brand, which is something usually people struggle with. Then the next session on October 26th is resumes and cover letters. On November 2nd, we're going to talk about networking and LinkedIn, some of which Lori and I spoke about this morning. And then November 9th, interviewing like a champ. So if you're struggling in any of these areas, go ahead and check out the events page and get registered. I am going to limit it to just 10 people per session because I want it to be engaging and helpful to you. And another way to think about it is if you participate in any of these classes, you're going to gain an instant network of 10 people that you didn't know from wherever across the country. So I hope that's helpful to you. Thank you again so much, Lori. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Take care.
Thank you.